If your life feels like it's spinning, too much noise, too many unfinished thoughts, too many days that blur together, try this. Not a drastic fix. Not a bold reinvention. But a quiet return. A return to something steady. Something strong. Something ancient. This isn't about chasing motivation or perfecting your morning routine. This is about rebuilding from the inside out. About finding the kind of strength that doesn't shout, but steadies. The kind of calm that doesn't numb, but anchors. A simple, intentional way of living, drawn from Stoic wisdom, that helps you rise with purpose, act with clarity, and rest with peace. No pressure to be perfect. No rush to have it all together. Just a new rhythm, one you choose, one you repeat, until it becomes who you are. And if what you've been missing is not another goal, but a grounded system, a way to live with less chaos and more command, then this is for you. Subscribe now. Let's take the first step, and then the next. Together. One steady day at a time. 1. Wake up with the first light, no alarm needed. There's a moment each morning that defines the man you are, or the man you are becoming. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. It's quiet. It's simple. It's the moment your eyes open. Now let me ask you, how do you show up in that moment? Do you roll over, slap the snooze button, and pull the blanket over your head? Do you tell yourself, just 5 more minutes, knowing deep down those 5 minutes cost you more than you think? Or do you rise, clear-eyed, without excuses, with resolve in your breath and purpose in your bones? Because how you start the day is how you live your life. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once said, "At the first light of day, rise, as if you were made to do what must be done." And he wasn't talking about checking your notifications. He wasn't talking about scrolling Instagram. He meant this. Stand up. Step into the day like a warrior stepping onto the battlefield. Not with drama, but with clarity. Not with panic, but with presence. We live in a world that's constantly pulling at your attention, your time, your strength. Alarms. Emails. Demands. The moment you wake up, the world wants to own you. But you don't belong to the world, you belong to yourself. And the moment you open your eyes is the first battle of the day. Win it, and everything else changes. Waking up with the first light is a declaration. It's a ritual. It's reclaiming your power. You're not relying on an alarm. You're not outsourcing your willpower to a device. You're letting your body, your biology, your discipline be the rhythm you live by. That's primal. That's ancient. That's real masculinity, not some influencer's morning routine, but the hard-earned self-respect of a man who refuses to be a slave to comfort. Imagine this, you wake up just before the sun. The room is still, untouched. No noise. No notifications. Just you breathing, thinking, preparing. You step out of bed with calm confidence, not because someone told you to, but because you decided to show up fully. This is not about being productive. It's about being present. Being awake to your own existence. It's about refusing to be reactive and choosing instead to be deliberate. Too many men are drifting, sleepwalking through life, always reacting, always behind. But the man who wakes with the sun is ahead of the world before the world even knows it. He's not driven by motivation. He's fueled by commitment. And it starts with this one act, rise. With the light. Without question. Without delay. Without compromise. And don't tell yourself it's hard. You've done hard things. You've endured worse. This is simple. This is discipline in its rawest form. There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There's only the choice you make when the darkness starts to fade. Do you rise, or do you hide? Wake with the sun, and you tell your body, your mind, and your soul, I am not afraid of the day. You tell the world, I do not need a reason to show up. I am the reason. And you don't need a crowd to witness it. You don't need applause. Because the man you become when no one's watching, that's the man the world will eventually see. So tomorrow, when the light creeps through the curtain and your body stirs, don't negotiate. Don't justify. Don't delay. Rise. Stand. Breathe. And start. Start your day like the man you want to become. And keep showing up as him every damn morning. Wake with the light. And rise like a man who knows this world doesn't owe him a thing and is ready to earn everything. 2. 5 minutes of morning silence. Command stillness before the storm. You rose with the light. That one choice, that one simple, powerful act, set a tone for the day. You didn't hide from the morning. You didn't delay your life. You stood up and showed up. And now you own the stillness. Because what you do in the first few moments after you rise matters just as much as waking up itself. It's not enough to get out of bed. You have to decide who you're going to be before the world tries to decide for you. And here's the truth. The most dangerous man in the room is not the loudest. It's not the strongest. It's the one who is completely calm. Completely grounded. Completely still, even in chaos. That's why you take 5 minutes, just 5, and sit in complete silence. No phone. No news. No music. No thoughts about what you have to do. No distractions. Just you, your breath, your awareness, and the empty space between moments. It may sound simple, but it's not easy. Because silence, true silence, forces you to confront what's inside. No noise to drown it out. No dopamine distractions. No mental escape. This is your mirror. This is where you begin the day as a man who thinks before he acts. As a man who does not operate from panic, urgency, or pressure, but from clarity, purpose, and presence. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius, before commanding an empire, would start his day with reflection. Seneca believed that the greatest power came not from constant action, but from measured thought. Epictetus said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." And how can you know what to do if you never take a moment to listen to yourself? Those 5 minutes in silence are your anchor. While the rest of the world bolts out of bed in chaos, grabbing phones, rushing breakfast, reacting to emails, you are sitting still. Unshaken. Controlled. Intentional. Because you're not here to be part of the noise. You're here to lead yourself through it. This is not meditation. This is not mindfulness as some trendy practice. This is war preparation. Mental armor. This is you facing yourself without filter, excuse, or escape. You want clarity in life? You want to stop feeling overwhelmed? You want to lead, to build, to conquer? Start here. 5 minutes. Eyes open or closed, it doesn't matter. Back straight. Breath deep. You don't chase thoughts. You don't fight them either. You let them pass and return to yourself. To the quiet. Because this quiet is power. This is the foundation of self-command. Most men are prisoners to their thoughts, constantly reacting, constantly pulled. But you are learning to hold the reins. To sit still. To own your inner world before you ever touch the outer one. And what happens after those 5 minutes? You stand up, not just awake, but aligned. You move into your day not just with motion, but with meaning. The world doesn't need more men who hustle blindly from task to task. The world needs more men who have decided who they are before they've even had their first cup of coffee. So give yourself 5 minutes. Not as a luxury. Not as a routine. As a discipline. As a daily act of self-leadership. Because if you can sit in silence, fully present, fully awake, then you can handle anything the day throws at you. And if you can't handle 5 minutes alone with your thoughts, then no achievement, no relationship, no money will ever bring you peace. It has to come from within. And it starts right here. So tomorrow, After you rise with the light, command stillness before the storm. 5 minutes. No more. No less. But everything you need to become a man unshaken by the world, because he's already faced himself. You rose with strength. Now sit with presence. And watch your day unfold with quiet, unshakable power. 3. Set just 3 daily priorities. Focus like a warrior, execute like a king. You woke with the sun. You claimed your silence. Now, it's time to move. But not in 100 directions. Not in chaos. Not with scattered energy and a cluttered mind. You're not here to stay busy, you're here to be effective. That's the difference between noise and movement. Between distraction and domination. Too many men wake up and walk straight into a storm they created, an endless to-do list, a flood of demands, a mind fogged with 17 different half-finished priorities. They mistake motion for progress. They confuse being overwhelmed with being important. And by the end of the day, nothing is finished, and they're burnt out, bitter, and confused. But that's not you anymore. Because now, you sit down, not with anxiety, but with intention. With calm strength. And you write down 3 things. Not 30. Not even 5. Just 3. 3 targets. 3 real priorities. 3 outcomes that, if completed, will make this day a victory. Why 3? Because 3 forces clarity. 3 makes you ruthless. 3 is what separates the man who dabbles from the man who executes. This is the Stoic way. To act with reason. With purpose. With alignment between thought and deed. The Stoics never chased volume, they mastered depth. They didn't react to the world, they moved within it deliberately, wisely, efficiently. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And what better way to waste life than by scattering your energy across a dozen meaningless tasks? So you take 5 minutes, right after your morning silence, and you decide, what are the 3 essential victories I will claim today? Not vague intentions like be productive or work on the project. Be specific. Be real. Be honest with yourself. Is it closing that one deal you've been delaying? Is it writing the pitch that's been sitting half-finished for a week? Is it calling your father, because you haven't spoken to him in months, and it's eating at your soul? Is it spending 1 uninterrupted hour on your body, your health, your edge? Whatever those 3 are, name them. Claim them. And own them. This isn't a productivity hack. This is a principle. A declaration of war on the scattered mind. Because once you write those 3 things down, something happens. Your mind sharpens. The fog lifts. You stop flailing and start aiming. Every other task, every other distraction, they become background noise. You've got your marching orders. You've got your mission. And you carry that list with you, on paper, in your mind, carved into your chest if you have to. You return to it when you get pulled off track. You measure your day by it. Because if you complete those 3 things, then today meant something. And if you don't rationalize. You don't self-pity. You own it. You see where you drifted. You course correct. Because this path isn't about perfection, it's about dominion over yourself. 3 priorities a day might not sound like much. But stack them over weeks, months, years, and you become dangerous. Not because you do more than everyone else, but because you do what matters more than anyone else. You are no longer a man lost in noise. You are a man living by design. And when other men talk about how busy they are, how overwhelmed, how there's never enough time, you nod, but you're not distracted. You're not drained. You've already claimed your wins. You've moved with purpose. You've built something real. So right now, take the time. After you sit in silence, write the 3. Choose them with discipline. With honesty. With full commitment. These are not errands. These are not tasks. These are battles. And you are not leaving the field until they are done. Because real men don't chase endless tasks. They build legacies, one clear move at a time. You started your day like a warrior. You sat like a monk. Now act like a king, with order, clarity, and unstoppable precision. 3 moves. No more. That's all you need. That's all you ever needed. 4. Do the hardest thing first, break resistance before it builds. You've already made 3 decisions. 3 clear, non-negotiable priorities that matter. You've claimed the morning. You've claimed your mind. Now it's time to claim your edge. Because it's one thing to know what must be done, it's another to do it. And if you're honest, you already know which of those 3 priorities is the hardest one. It's the one you don't want to face. The one you keep reshuffling to the end of the list, hoping maybe it'll somehow disappear. But it won't. That task, the one that triggers your discomfort, your hesitation, your excuses, that's the one you do first. Always. Without question. Without hesitation. Why? Because in every day, there's a window of power. And that window is narrow. You don't get 12 hours of high performance. You get maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours if you're lucky, of real mental clarity, drive, and courage. And what you give those peak hours to determines everything. If you give them to emails, to shallow work, to busy work, you are betraying your power. You are giving your best hours to the weakest tasks. But when you take that first, fiercest hit, when you open the hardest door right away, you send a message to your subconscious, I'm in charge here. You prove to yourself that resistance doesn't own you. And let's be clear, it's not the task that's hard. It's the emotion attached to it. Fear. Doubt. Insecurity. Avoidance. Maybe it's a call you've been dreading. A confrontation you've been postponing. A piece of work you know will challenge your limits. That resistance is your compass. It's not there to stop you. It's there to point you straight toward what matters most. This is not just productivity. This is self-liberation. Every time you delay that hard task, you multiply its weight. You feed the voice in your head that says, not yet. And over time, that voice becomes your master. But not today. Because the moment you rise and go straight at the hardest task, no delay, no coffee rituals, no pacing around your desk, you destroy the illusion that it controls you. You break the cycle. You reclaim time, energy, momentum. And that one act can unlock the entire day. Epictetus taught that we should not avoid discomfort, but run into it with reason. That self-control, will, and endurance were not ideas, they were skills forged through action. And no action is more powerful than confronting resistance directly. Imagine this, it's 8 a.m. You've been up since dawn. You've already spent time in silence. You've written down your mission. And now, instead of avoiding it, you step right into the fire. You don't think twice. You open the file. You make the call. You face the thing. And suddenly, you're free. Because once you've conquered the mountain first, everything else is downhill. You've taken the hardest blow, and you're still standing. You've done the thing you feared, and now you're untouchable. Every lesser task feels lighter. Every small responsibility feels insignificant in comparison. That's momentum. That's power. That's ownership. You want to stop procrastinating? This is how. You don't need more apps, more time blocking, more motivational quotes. You need one act of raw courage every morning. Face the hardest thing first. Do this for a week and your confidence changes. Do this for a month and your habits shift. Do this for a year and you become a man most people won't recognize because they're still putting off what you've already conquered before breakfast. This is the dividing line between men who drift and men who dominate. So tomorrow, when you sit down and look at your 3 priorities, don't warm up with the easy one. Don't coast into the day. Start at the edge. Go straight for the one that makes your stomach tighten and your mind hesitate. That's the signal. That's your target. And that's your freedom. Because the man who attacks the hardest task first is not just productive, he's unstoppable. 5. Eat simply, eat on time, never let emotion dictate your plate. You faced the hardest thing. You didn't flinch. You didn't delay. You walked straight into resistance and emerged sharper, lighter, more grounded. You've already won a war that most men avoid all day. Now, you continue the discipline. Because what you feed yourself next isn't just about calories. It's not just about health. It's about sovereignty. Command. Fueling your body without being a slave to your emotions. The world tells men to indulge. To treat yourself. To reward every minor action with sugar, comfort, or distraction on a plate. Fast food. Late-night snacking. Emotional eating masked as self-care. It's normalized, and it's destroying clarity, energy, and masculine will. But not for you. Not anymore. Because how a man eats reveals how a man lives. You don't eat like a child chasing dopamine. You don't graze all day like a man with no direction. You eat like a warrior fueling his vessel. You eat at a set time, with purpose, not with cravings. The Stoics believed in mastery over desire. Not in denial for denial's sake, but in choosing what truly serves. Seneca once said, "We should eat to live, not live to eat." That was more than a quote, it was a stance. A position of power. A declaration of independence from gluttony, laziness, and the illusion that pleasure equals peace. You eat simple. That doesn't mean boring. It means real. It means whole. It means food that serves your body, not just your tongue. You don't chase the rush of sugar or the numbing weight of comfort meals. You eat for strength, clarity, and longevity. Because when your body is weighed down, your mind is too. When your gut is inflamed, so is your mood. When your energy spikes and crashes all day, so does your confidence. Food is not neutral, it either fuels your fire or puts it out. You eat on time. Why? Because routine is freedom. Because self-imposed boundaries are not limits, they are structure. And a man without structure is at the mercy of every passing urge. You train your hunger like you train your mind, to serve you, not rule you. You decide when to eat. You decide when to stop. You don't snack because you're bored. You don't binge because you're stressed. You don't scroll delivery apps hoping to feel something. You eat because your body needs it, and you stop because your mind commands it. This level of discipline around food isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about not letting the most basic human act, eating, be the place where you lose yourself daily. And yes, people will call it extreme. They'll say, "Come on, just enjoy yourself." But the truth is, they don't know what it feels like to live with clarity. To not feel tired at 2 p.m. To not need 3 coffees to function. To wake up with a body that feels light, clean, and ready for war. You do. Or you will. If you stick to this. You want to change your body? Change your relationship with food. You want mental clarity? Start by mastering your plate. You want to build a life that holds, not collapses under its own weight, then stop eating like you're surviving the day and start eating like you're building the future. Plan your meals. Keep them simple. Protein, plants, clean carbs, water. Eat them sitting down, with presence. Not while scrolling. Not while rushing. Not while multitasking. Because the man who eats with intention lives with intention. And here's the truth few will say out loud: if you can't control what goes into your mouth, how will you ever control what comes out of it, your words, your actions, your choices? You rose with strength. You sat with silence. You planned with clarity. You acted with courage. Now, you eat with discipline. Not because it's trendy. Not because someone told you to. but because every act of self-respect compounds. And food, something you do every single day, is either your greatest ally or your quietest sabotage. Choose your plate like a warrior chooses his weapon. With care. With clarity. Without apology. You don't eat to reward yourself. You eat to equip yourself. And once you start eating like a man with a mission, everything changes. The cravings fade. The clarity rises. The shame around food disappears, replaced with deep, primal trust in your own body again. You eat to be sharper. To be stronger. To be free. Tomorrow, when the hunger comes, don't reach for chaos. Reach for fuel. And let that small, silent act echo across every other part of your life. 6. Move 30 minutes a day. Strength is built without the gym. You've claimed your day, from the way you rise to the way you eat. Your mornings are no longer accidents. They're chosen, carved, owned. But there's one more territory that must be conquered before the world takes its slice of you. Your body. Because you can't think clearly in a body that's decaying. You can't move through the world with power when your foundation is weak, brittle, neglected. And you don't need a gym. You don't need gear. You don't need a perfectly curated workout plan with background music and Instagram angles. You just need to move. Every single day. Without negotiation. Without excuse. 30 minutes. That's it. That's all it takes to reclaim strength, mobility, and energy. But more than that, to keep the fire lit. Because movement isn't just physical. It's emotional. It's spiritual. It's primal. When you don't move, you don't feel. When you don't sweat, you don't burn. When you don't stretch, you shrink. The modern man is suffering from stillness. Not stillness in the stoic sense, but paralysis. Screens. Chairs. Commutes. He scrolls more than he walks. He sits more than he breathes. His spine collapses, his lungs compress, his confidence erodes, not from trauma, but from neglect. But not you. Not anymore. You rise from your silence. You write your intentions. You eat to fuel, not to feel. And now, you move like it matters, because it does. You don't need a gym membership. You need a floor, a sidewalk, a pull-up bar in a park, or just your own body and a little space. You walk. You stretch. You do push-ups until your arms shake. You squat until your legs remember they were built to carry you through this world with power. You breathe like a man waking up from decades of mental slumber. This is what the Stoics knew: the mind is shaped in the body. Marcus Aurelius led armies. Epictetus walked with a limp from slavery. These were not fragile men with soft hands and tight hips. These were men who understood that the strength of your character must be forged in flesh, not just thoughts. 30 minutes. Every day. It doesn't need to be complex. It needs to be consistent. And the beauty of it is this: every single time you move, you're not just strengthening muscle, you're reinforcing your identity. You're reminding yourself, I am not passive. I am not soft. I am not fading. You move to tell the world, and your own soul, that you are still alive, still dangerous, still present. You stretch not just to loosen tight muscles, but to break patterns of inertia that have trapped you for years. You sweat not just to burn fat, but to release the poisons of comfort, the weight of unresolved emotions, the frustration of modern stagnation. This is sacred. It's not a workout. It's a ritual. A daily return to yourself as a physical being, one who was built not for endless consumption, but for movement, action, and force. You move because the man who sits too long starts to question himself. You move because energy trapped in the body becomes anxiety in the mind. You move because a strong mind needs a strong container. You don't have to crush yourself. You just have to show up for 30 minutes. That's the only rule. Just like you don't skip the sunrise, you don't skip the sweat. The man who moves daily, even modestly, gains more than strength. He gains momentum, confidence, clean aggression, grounded energy. And when life throws fire at him, he doesn't collapse. He rises because he's trained to rise. So tomorrow, walk before the world wakes up. Do push-ups while the coffee brews. Stretch before you scroll. Pick up your body and carry it forward like the warrior it was designed to be. This is not about aesthetics. This is not about comparison. This is about keeping your promise to yourself, the same one you made when you got out of bed with purpose. You moved through fear when you tackled the hardest task. Now you move through space with intention. Every step, every rep, every breath is a quiet act of rebellion against a culture built on decay. You don't move to look good. You move to remember who you are. 7. Guard your evenings, clean information, clean mind. You moved. You breathed. You bled out the stagnation. You sweat with purpose, not to punish your body, but to reclaim it. You proved, again, that strength doesn't need machines or mirrors, only resolve. Now comes the final battle of the day. And make no mistake, this one is quieter, but more dangerous. Because the real war doesn't start when your body is tired, it starts when your mind is most vulnerable. When the tasks are done. When the sun dips below the skyline. When the silence returns. And instead of guarding that sacred stillness, too many men, powerful men, give it away. They give it to headlines. To gossip. To clickbait. To algorithmically designed chaos. The evening is their chance to restore, reflect, reconnect, but instead, they become consumers of poison. But not you. Not anymore. You do not allow garbage into your mind after dark. You guard your evenings like your life depends on it, because it does. You don't finish your day strong just by checking off your to-do list. You finish it strong by deciding what enters your mind after the world stops demanding from you. Because what you allow in, during that final window, shapes your rest, your recovery, your subconscious, and ultimately, your future. Seneca warned us about this centuries ago. He said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And what is imagination if not polluted by the stories we consume carelessly? You know this feeling. You sit down at night. You're tired. You scroll for a few minutes. 30 minutes later, your nervous system is hijacked. You're angry about politics. Anxious about global markets. Jealous of curated lives. Distracted by tragedies you can't change. Addicted to stimulation that leaves you empty. That's not rest. That's mental sabotage. So now, you flip the script. You reclaim the night. You set a rule, after a certain hour, no news, no social media, no mindless content. The same way you wouldn't fill your body with junk food after training, you don't fill your mind with mental sewage after a day of purpose. You don't need to be updated on everything. You don't need to absorb every tragedy, every tweet, every drama. What you need, more than ever, is space. Room to breathe. Room to recover. Room to reconnect with you. Because in that space is where your next level begins. You read. You write. You reflect. You spend time with your thoughts, not to escape them, but to organize them. To find clarity in a world that thrives on noise. You return to books that sharpen you, not headlines that scare you. You listen to silence, not static. You slow down, not because you're tired, but because slowing down is a discipline in a culture addicted to speed. This is your fortress. This is your final stand before the day ends. And most men leave this door wide open. They protect their inbox more than they protect their soul. But not you. Because a man who wants to wake up with clarity must sleep with peace. And peace is not the absence of problems, it's the absence of unnecessary consumption. So tomorrow, when evening approaches, and the old impulse to open your phone creeps in, stop. Ask yourself, does this feed me, or bleed me? If it doesn't sharpen your character or restore your mind, it's not welcome in your evening. You've been strong all day. Don't let your guard down now. Your discipline didn't die at dinner, it sharpens in the dark. The night is your sanctuary. Keep it clean. You owe it to your future to end the day with the same intention you started it with. You don't drift into rest. You command your descent into restoration like a warrior returning from battle, battered, but not broken, and always in control. 8. Journal 3 lines before bed. Clean the mind, lead the soul. The evening is now quiet. You did not scroll. You did not poison your mind with noise. You guarded the doorway, stood between your soul and the chaos of the outside world. You chose stillness. And now, you step into one final ritual. A closing act. A sacred return. A man's quiet conversation with himself. You write. Not paragraphs. Not essays. Just 3 lines. One thing you're grateful for. One thing you did well. One thing you can do better. That's it. 3 lines. But those 3 lines carry more weight than most conversations you'll have all week. Because here's the truth, if you don't process your thoughts will process you. They will spill over into your sleep, your stress, your subconscious. They will become ghosts in the night, unresolved, whispering doubts and what-ifs into your dreams. But when you write, even 3 simple lines, you cleanse. You unload. You take what's swirling inside and give it form, structure, and direction. The Stoics did this every night. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, ended his days by journaling, not for history, not for show, but to examine himself. To hold his mind accountable. To return to center. He didn't pretend he was perfect. He simply refused to sleep blind. You do the same. You sit down with pen and paper, not a screen, and you face the mirror. And in that mirror, you see the raw version of the man you were today. Not the polished one. Not the one others see. The real one. The man who made choices. The man who made mistakes. The man who showed up, or didn't. And there's no judgment here. No shame. No applause. Only truth. Only reflection. Only growth. Start with gratitude. One thing, one moment, you are genuinely thankful for. It might be small. A look. A laugh. A task you finished. A quiet moment in the sun. Gratitude is not weakness. It is awareness. It's a reminder that you are not owed anything, and yet, today, you received something. Next, write one thing you did well. This is not arrogance. It's recognition. Because if you don't see your own progress, you will always feel behind. You will always feel not enough. And that's a lie. Today, you moved forward. Even if it was 1 inch. Write it down. Then, write one thing you can do better. This is the edge. This is the fire. This is where a man sharpens himself, not with guilt, but with honesty. You don't attack yourself. You observe. You name the gap. And tomorrow, you step into it with awareness. 3 lines. Not for the world. For you. Because the man who reflects consistently builds internal leadership. And leadership doesn't start with teams, companies, or tribes. It starts with the voice inside your head. The one you either lead or are led by. Journaling isn't weakness. It's warrior maintenance. It's you checking the state of your inner battlefield before sleep. It's you choosing consciousness over autopilot. It's you saying, I will not go to bed numb. I will not carry today's weight into tomorrow. And you don't need fancy notebooks. You don't need prompts. You just need truth. 3 lines. Every night. Non-negotiable. Because the man who ends the day with awareness wakes up with power. He doesn't stumble into the morning, he steps into it knowing where he is and where he's headed. So tonight, after you've said no to the noise, say yes to the mirror. You've fought hard. You've eaten with discipline. You've moved your body. You've directed your time. Now, honor your day. Close the loop. Give it meaning. Let your pen lead your mind home. And remember, it's not about perfection. It's about presence. You don't need to write volumes. You need to show up, one word, one sentence, one honest breath at a time. 9. Sleep early. Prioritize sleep like you prioritize strength. You faced the day. You rose with purpose. You carved silence from noise. You selected your priorities like a commander before battle. You did not run from the hard thing, you walked straight into it. You ate not with emotion, but with clarity. You moved your body, not for show, but to remain sharp, dangerous, alive. You guarded your evenings. You wrote your truth. Now, you retreat. Not to escape, but to recover. Because if you are building something real, strength, legacy, mastery, then sleep is not a luxury. It is a discipline. It is an act of resistance against the lie that success is found in burnout, chaos, and late nights filled with scrolling, numbing, or pretending to be productive. A man who sleeps well is not lazy. He is lethal. Because his rest is not random, it is strategic. You must sleep early. Not just when you're exhausted. Not just when you collapse. But as a deliberate end to a deliberate day. Because sleep, deep, early, earned sleep, is not the end of productivity. It is the foundation of it. You don't sacrifice your night for one more task. You don't burn hours proving you're hardcore by staying up until 1 a.m. watching motivational videos or pretending to work while your body breaks down silently beneath you. You go to bed on time because your goals require a body that functions, a mind that's sharp, and a nervous system that's stable. You go to bed because tomorrow's clarity is planted in tonight's surrender. The Stoics were relentless about rhythm, about balance, about strength that didn't collapse under its own ambition. They weren't chasing exhaustion. They were practicing alignment. And your body, this incredible machine you carry through every battlefield, has its own rhythm, its own law. You obey that law, or you pay. Go to sleep early. Every night. Consistently. No drama. No debate. This is the closing ritual. Not an afterthought. Not a leftover moment. It is the final signal to your system that you live today on your terms, and now you recover like a warrior who expects to rise and do it again. And yes, the world will tempt you. One more episode. One more email. One more hit of blue light. One more cheap dopamine drop. But that's the same temptation you've already said no to, at sunrise, at lunch, at dusk. Don't break now. Hold the line. Because the man who sleeps early, not just from tiredness, but from discipline, builds resilience that most men never touch. You want better focus? Sleep early. You want faster recovery? Sleep early. You want deeper intuition, calm, strength, stamina, confidence? Sleep early. Not once. Not when it's convenient. Every night. On time. Like it matters. Because it does. You rise with intention. You sleep with strategy. That is the bookend of a powerful life. And let's be honest, you already know what happens when you don't. You've lived those mornings. The grogginess. The mental fog. The irritability. The slow decisions. The self-loathing. The dragged-out momentum. Every time you sleep late for no reason, you steal energy from tomorrow and waste it on tonight. You don't do that anymore. You sleep early because you're building something bigger than today. And when the lights go off, and the world dims, and the stillness sets in, you don't resist it. You enter it with reverence. You earned this. Close your eyes not in exhaustion, but in victory. Because the man who prioritizes sleep like he prioritizes strength, clarity, and growth wakes up different. He's not dragging his soul through the day. He's carrying it. Fully charged. Fully grounded. Fully aware. So tonight, no delay. No negotiation. Just the same quiet force you've applied to every other hour of the day. You rise like a warrior. You rest like a king. And in that sacred pause between one day and the next, you sharpen. 10. Repeat without expecting immediate results. Plant seeds, not deadlines. You laid your head down early. Not from defeat, but from deliberate retreat. You didn't collapse, you closed. You ended your day with presence, with truth, with clarity. You shut the door on chaos. You guarded your mind. You gave your body what it needed to rise again, sharper than the day before. Now, as the cycle renews, there is only one truth left to face. You do it again. And again. And again. Not because it's glamorous. Not because it gives you instant gratification. Not because anyone is clapping. You do it because repetition is the only path to real power. Not explosive change. Not overnight transformation. Not hacks. Not hacks, habits. The warrior, the master, the builder, they all understand the same law: results are not earned in sprints. They are harvested from patience, planted in persistence. And this is where most men fall. They rise once at 5 a.m. and expect clarity by 5:15. They eat clean for a day and check the mirror. They journal for a week and expect peace. They do 10 push-ups and want a new body. They finish a task and want a changed life. But you don't live by deadlines. You live by the rhythm of seeds. You understand that nothing lasting is built quickly. That the oak tree does not apologize for being slow. That the craftsman does not question the chisel. That the man of substance never compares his pace to someone else's finish line. The modern world is addicted to now. Fast results. Fast validation. Fast rewards. But everything you truly want, strength, clarity, peace, legacy, none of it can be rushed. It must be earned through ritual. Through a process that is so embedded in who you are that it no longer needs reward, it becomes who you are. The Stoics didn't write for applause. They wrote to remember. To remind themselves of the daily fight. Marcus Aurelius wrote the same truths over and over again, not because he forgot them, but because living them is a daily war. And so is this. You repeat the routine. Every morning. Every evening. Without needing results to show up right away. Because the true result isn't just the outcome, it's who you're becoming while showing up. You're not waiting for permission to feel good. You're not dependent on scale numbers, likes, promotions, or applause. You are loyal to the process, not addicted to the prize. You rise. You move. You write. You reflect. You eat with order. You rest with respect. And you do it all again, not because it's exciting, but because it's necessary. And every day you do it, you place another stone. Another layer of foundation. Another signal to your future self that you were serious. That you didn't quit when it got boring. That you didn't run when it got quiet. That you didn't beg for validation when results didn't come fast enough. Because the kind of man you're becoming, he doesn't flinch at silence. He doesn't panic at slow progress. He doesn't mistake a quiet season for failure. He knows the seed is growing. Every choice is a seed. Every morning you rise early, a seed. Every time you eat clean, a seed. Every time you face the task instead of avoid it, a seed. Every time you turn from the noise and enter silence, a seed. And the man who keeps planting, the harvest is inevitable. So no, you don't need motivation. You need reminders. You don't need more hype. You need discipline. You need to see each day as a brick, not the building, but part of it. Each rep, each line in your journal, each early bedtime, each walk, each moment of silence. They build something. And here's the beauty, when you no longer need quick results, you win. Because most quit the moment they don't see a return. But you keep going. That makes you dangerous. That makes you inevitable. So you don't chase the outcome. You become the man who creates the outcome. You show up until showing up is no longer an effort, it's a law. Repeat the routine. Day after day. Not perfectly, but faithfully. Consistently. Quietly. Powerfully. Plant the seed. Water it. Trust the process. Repeat. Because you are no longer a man chasing change. You are the change. And it's already begun.